What's going on, guys? It's your boy Twan, and you are tuned into the first episode of the Mood Switch Behind the Scenes series. A series where we're going to be talking about all things Mood Switch, from production to studio time to photo shoots, even to live performances. So for this first episode, we're going to get into the production aspect. We're in my little sanctum right here where all the magic was created. Let's go ahead and turn around and get to it. As you all may or may not know, I am a guitar player. So this track started off with a simple guitar loop, a melody I was hearing in my head, just decided to lay it down and started off with this. So that first part right there, like I said, was a simple melody I was hearing in my head. I feel like it's very rhythmic, it's an attention grabber, kind of gets you in the swing of like, okay, we going somewhere. And what I really like about this whole entire loop is the next part. So this is the next part of the loop right here. So as you can hear in that second part of the track, it's a little more laid back, a little more, I like to call it swaggy, just kind of get you in the mode, switch it up, diversify it a little bit. And matter of fact, that's actually what kind of sparked the name Mood Switch. The Mood Switch is actually sparked and inspired by the guitars. So I'm gonna play the whole thing in sequence. So after that introduction, you have a lot of different layers of the track coming in following that. As you may or may not been able to hear, you had this acoustic sample that kind of gives it another spacey, airy vibe, like. Instead of with your other guitars. So following the introduction, you have a lot of different layers that also join in with the song. You have a lot of your pads, you have a lot of your keys, your ambient sounds that kind of create the emotion and set the tone for the song, which leads to this part right here. Your bass swells in. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into a breakdown of that chorus. A lot more of your elements are coming in to actually set the tone for, okay, now we're in the groove of the song. It sounds something like this. So right here, you have a sequence of pads. I like to really focus on the keys and pads here. I'm not a board player, so I try to find ways to resonate a sound without having to be too busy on the keys. So for those that may or may not know me, I'm a very quartet-based person. And if you know about quartet, everything has a part. Everything is very solid. Not a lot of movement. There's not too much going on. That's like the heart of my sound. So I try to find a way to infuse that emotion and feeling into more hip-hop, R&B genres. And for this first part of the verse, I would like to focus on the keys and pads. But the sonics and the notes, the harmonies actually is what creates the emotion. So let's get into the pads. Right here, you just have a lot of ambient sustains that kind of happen. Just keep the song consistent. Got the melody line playing. You have that airy, breathy texture tone. Kind of gives you like I think of it like a forest vibe in a sense. And then when you have your keys to go along with it, the keys are adding a more rhythmic part to kind of get the song moving a bit. And this is what that sounds like. Space is another key essence as well. Generating that space for other things to happen is very, very important. So together you have it sound like this. So for the verse, the bass here is not doing too much. It has a nice consistent part of just a sustain with some breaks in between. To kind of just give the song a flow. You know what I'm saying? And then it kind of gets a little more melodic as you get into the chorus. But for verse 1, you have it sounding like this. So, as you heard or may not have heard, it's a nice deep tuned bass with a pretty like chorusy effect to kind of give it that fullness, that body, that low end. As you hear that space, you hear something go. Da, da, da. That's actually an electric bass that's just kind of playing that melody, get in and get out of it, like a little sample, something like this. Run that back to you. So in sequence, you hear it like this. So as you can hear, everything has its own part. So for your drums, all my drummers I did. Nice hip hop pattern, you know what I'm saying? Something that's real groovy, kind of gets you in the vibe like, oh shoot, okay, bet we rocking. So something like this. Very consistent, very locked in. And I like how the subdivisions kind of get in and out of those spaces, especially even with the guitar and the other parts that are sustaining and holding, those like hi-hats. It's really giving you that subdivision to kind of fill in those spaces within the song. So as you can hear, we just went through the different breakdowns of that first verse, from bass to guitars, to keys, to pads, and to drums, which I believe creates a cohesive sound. Everything has a part, which gives the song room to breathe and leave room for the vocalist as well. So that first verse all together, you hear everything syncopated and everything in this cohesive form brings this. So now we're getting into the first hook. Things kind of expand a little bit, not too much. You kind of got different parts taking a different approach. We can start off here with the bass. So bass is doing a more melodic approach here, which kind of gives it more of a R&B twist, R&B vibe. Sounds something like this. So let's get into a breakdown of this bass approach. As you can hear, there's a key bass and electric bass that's kind of intertwining and playing around with each other. Electric bass is coming in on some special accents. Key bass is do 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 do. Electric go do 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 do. Then on that part, that section right there, going back to those sustains, I feel like it kind of gives that a much more hip hop vibe. I love like a lot of LA production, and a lot of times I hear like, I don't know, I feel like sometimes it gets a little aggressive, but it still got a lot of swag to it. So that's kind of the approach I took for the bass line here on the second part of that chorus. The loud bass and key bass are still kind of playing around with each other. The electric bass accent that do 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 do, just kind of playing parts. So let's go through that whole section again. So also we have another additional guitar file in here, giving a way more rhythmic-y approach, kind of give it a little more feel, just a little bit. It sounds something like this. Add that with your other guitars. So now with both of those changes involved, you can hear how it meshes with the whole entire song on that chorus. So run it back like this. And that is episode 1 of the Mood Switch Behind the Scenes series, All Things Production. Thank you so much for tuning in. Stay tuned. We got more coming on the way. Next week, we're going to be talking about something completely different. So stay tuned, and we'll see you next week. I know the game is fixed to win. That's why I stop running.